Take me back to that first game you officiated, as
My
far as football is concerned.
All right, my very first football game I officiated officially, I think it was probably, I don't remember the exact matchup, but I know it was a JV game. And I had on white knickers that I had. That was like the worst uniform ever. The white knickers and everything, and they were very itchy. And I just remember having some jitters because I want to do everything right. And I just went out there and did what I thought I knew how to do, and I enjoyed myself. I liked interacting with the players and I liked interacting with the coaches during that time. And it just made me want to continue and get better.
When you left the field that day, did you ever think that you would be in the position to become where you are right now, the first Black female to officiate, to be an NFL official?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That wasn't even a thought. Especially at the time, there really weren't. I didn't know of any other women that were officiating. I really didn't know many officials. I was just doing it pretty much just for the pure love of the game and just for me to, to satisfy an itch that I had just to be around athletics.
When was that moment where you kind of said, you know what, I'm pretty good at officiating and I can do this at the highest level?
Well, I noticed that the guys in my area started to take a vested interest in me. And those were the guys on my high school board. And so immediately, once they saw how well I was doing in my first year, again, I don't know if I'm doing good or bad because I have nothing to compare it to. So I'm just out there enjoying it. But obviously the guys saw something in me that I didn't. And they started teaching me college rules, like during my first year of officiating. And then the following year, they started inviting me to college rule study meetings. So I started to learn college rules in mechanics before I even really learned the high school stuff. So they saw something in me. And at the time, I'm just thinking they're just teaching it to me. When I thought it was true that I could possibly reach the NFL, that wasn't until I started officiating in Conference USA. Once I hit my first year in Conference USA, and you sit around the room and you look at everybody who's teaching you how to officiate are either current or former NFL officials. My supervisor officials was a 3-time Super Bowl referee. And, a longtime field official, very well respected, Gerald Austin. And, just being under his tutelage, I start to say, okay, I have an opportunity to possibly go to the NFL if I put work in.
I was going to ask, for somebody that, is kind of like a trailblazer, to a certain degree, but in a position where there are very few females that are officiating, college football games or high school games or even NFL games, you're one of the very few. Who were some of your mentors? Who were you kind of tailoring your skills with?
Well, I don't think I really tailored my skills to anyone. I will say that there are certain things that I picked up, like from other officials. I know that I'm a huge fan of, like, when I'm on the crew, my referee is normally my go-to person of who I look up to, because the referee is a leader of your crew and they're there for a reason, to really teach you the ins and outs of each level that you're on. And I've been very fortunate to actually work with some of the best college referees in the country. And that's been very, very helpful to me. Also, my current mentor that I have, who helped me get over that hump in the Pac-12, which was Chuck Stewart. He's a retired NFL replay official and a longtime line of scrimmage official in the NFL. And he really taught me how to be a profession and taught me how to fine tune my skills and really dig deep into it. He's no holds barred. He doesn't hold any punches. He tells me like it is. He cusses me out, when it needs be. He doesn't let me know when I'm doing super great, that he points out all my flaws, which is something that you want in a mentor. And, I can go to him at any time with any question, and he will always give me the truth, no matter how hurtful it may be.
So you made the jump from the collegiate ranks to, I guess, it's a program in the NFL that it's like a developmental program that allows you to actually have the opportunity to officiate some preseason NFL games?
Right, correct. So what happens is, after I spent, I believe, about 4 years on the high school level, I got picked up to work in Conference USA. And after my third year in Conference USA, when I completed my first bowl game, I was selected to join the NFL ODP program, which at the time when I joined, there were only 21 officials selected out of a pool of roughly around 4,000 that were invited to join and to train. And so what happens during the development program is you attend like OTAs and mini camps. training camps, you have access to all the rules and film sessions that the on-field officials, the current officials have. And we work those. And then we work a preseason game. And once preseason wraps up, we go back and we work our regular college season. And if you do well enough, or if they invite you to come work a college all-star game, like the Senior Bowl or the East-West Shrine game, then you work one of those. And then they evaluate you at the end of the year and decide whether or not they want to hire you if you're ready, or if they think you need some more work and they put you back and you just keep getting recycled over and over again. So that was an ongoing process. I was still working college football at the time where I was brought into the development program. So now I have two sets of rules that I'm taking a look at the same time.
Did it get to a point in the developmental program that you thought, this is as far as I'm going to go?
Yeah, actually, I'm not even going to lie about that. Maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe about a good 3 years ago, I had just, every year it seemed like I got the Senior Bowl every year. Every year I was working the Senior Bowl. And it got to a point where sometimes I would look like, man, everybody who I work with, it gets hired except me. And so it's like, man, what am I doing wrong? And it gets a little discouraging. But to keep my mind off of it, I ended up picking up basketball. And I became a basketball official, and I wanted to see how well I could do in basketball during my time off. And I guess becoming a basketball official is probably the best thing for me. It gave me more confidence and the swagger that I was pretty much missing as a football official to take that onto the field.
Tell me what the day was like when you got the call that you made history and you will be an NFL official for a regular season game.
So it was very shocking and I wasn't expecting it at all. Like I said, I gotten so used to just working my bowl game and then going back home and then starting to grind back over again. So I was just hanging out, in my house and the phone rings. It's around 9:15 p.m. I noticed it's, Wayne Mackey, who's the VP of officiating, who, I had a prior relationship with, as a mentor-mentee. And I thought he was just giving me a call to discuss like some film or to shoot me a play, which really isn't out of the ordinary. Mm-hmm. So I pick up the phone and he says, hey, Maya, we still on for our meeting on Wednesday? He's referring to our film review session when they're going to go over my performance in the Senior Bowl. I said, yeah, we're still on. And he tells me, well, you have a lot of work ahead of you. So a lot of work ahead of me. What do you mean? He goes, well, you're going to have a lot of work ahead of you because of Welcome to the National Football League. And I mean, I went nuts. But at first words out of my mouth are, am I being punked? Like, are you punking me? And he goes, no, it's the real deal. I said, nah, you're lying. Are you serious? I'm serious. Welcome to the National Football League, Maya Shaka, line of scrimmage official. And I was just extremely happy. I jumped up, I threw everything up in the air. I ran around my house, did a couple laps, around the crib, and then came back and picked up the phone and had the conversation like a big girl. So.
Sarah Thomas obviously made news being the first female official in the NFL, and she got to work a Super Bowl as well. During your time leading up to this position, did you have any communication, any relationship with Sarah?
Yeah, so Sarah and I worked in Conference USA together. So when I came into Conference USA, I forget what year that was, 2010 or 2011, she had already been there 3 years prior to me. And so as soon as I got the call and it got wind that I was being hired in Conference USA, she was one of the first officials that called me up and reached out to me. And we've actually had a pretty decent relationship ever since then. When we do have conversations, which is rare because we both have pretty busy schedules, but when we do have conversations, they're actually really meaningful conversations. And I'm appreciative of that. I'm also appreciative of her being the first woman to be hired in, because I can only imagine the type of scrutiny and the things that she's gone through. And all that does, not necessarily make my path easier, but it does in a sense, like somebody's already come out there to do it. So I mean, my hat's just off to her, because I can only imagine what her first few years were like. And getting to that Super Bowl, that road to the Super Bowl was very tough.
What about your students? What have they said to you about this monumental, news?
Man, all my kids came back in school today. They told me I was famous. Like, yeah, hashtag, you're famous. Oh my God, can you sign this? Like, today was the first day the students were actually back in school and they saw me. So it was just like pandemonium a little bit. I felt like B2K or somebody, I was just getting rushed. And it was weird. But I think the biggest thing was prior to the kids actually returning, just seeing their reactions. Coworkers sent me things that were said about me on social media. That students who I had at the very beginning of my career, these kids are like in their 30s now, which is so odd to see them grown up and being productive members of society, and then letting me know and letting the world know that I had, something to do with that. I contributed to their success, and that's what I'm here for, and I'm happy to hear that.
What is it gonna feel like when you step onto an NFL football field for the first time later this year as a full-time NFL official, the first Black female NFL official for a regular season game?
Hopefully it won't feel like any other game I've been in. And I'm not trying to downplay the moment, but as officials, we're always taught to never treat one game like it's bigger than the other. It doesn't matter if it's Pop Warner or it's high school. And I'm talking at Jazz now, but I know as soon as I get on the field and the lights are bright and, the crowd is loud, if they do have fans this year, I know it's a different story. But the way that I have to approach it is like it's no different than what I've already done. And at the end of the day, it's just football. And if I do what I need to do in the off season to prepare, all will go well.